There is a ship so massive it has its own zip code. It carries enough firepower to reshape the outcome of a war. It runs on nuclear power and it can sail for 20 years without ever stopping to refuel. And right now, there are 11 of them cutting through the world's oceans, every single one flying the same flag. These are not just ships. These are the largest, most powerful machines ever put into the water by human hands. Each one is longer than 3 football fields. Each one carries an entire air force on its deck. And today, we are counting down the 10 biggest aircraft carriers on the planet, from the ones that surprised the world all the way to the single ship that redefined what a warship even means. Stay with us because number 1 will leave you speechless. These ships and the brave men and the women who serve on them represent something truly extraordinary. If you are proud of the sailors and the aviators who dedicate their lives to defending freedom on these incredible vessels, drop the word proud in the comments right now. Let's give them the recognition they deserve. Now, let's get into the list. We are starting from number 10 and working our way up to the most powerful carrier ever launched. Number 10, INS Vikrant, India. At number 10, we have a ship that made history the moment it touched water. India INS Vikrant, the nation's very first homegrown aircraft carrier, was officially commissioned in 2022. Before this ship existed, India had to depend entirely on foreign-built carriers. That era is now over. The Vikrant stretches 262 meters from bow to stern and displaces roughly 45,000 tons of seawater. To put that in real terms, that is heavier than 45,000 family cars stacked one on top of the other. The ship was not purchased or imported. It was designed by Indian engineers, funded by Indian taxpayers, and constructed entirely on Indian soil at the Cochin shipyard, one of the largest shipbuilding facilities in all of Asia. The Vikrant currently carries around 30 aircraft, including the MiG-29K fighter, and is being prepared to eventually operate India's own Tejas light combat aircrafts in its naval version. What makes this especially significant is that India joins a very short list of countries in the entire world capable of designing and building a carrier-class warship entirely on their own. That list includes the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Russia, and China. India earned its place on it. This ship is not just a weapons platform. It is a declaration. India is no longer a country that buys naval power from others. It builds it, and the world has taken notice. Number 9, Charles de Gaulle, France. At number 9, we enter a category that only one country outside the United States has ever achieved: nuclear-powered carrier operations. France's Charles de Gaulle, officially designated R-91, is the only nuclear-powered aircraft carrier on the planet that does not belong to the U.S. Navy. That alone puts it in an extraordinary category. At 261 meters long and displacing roughly 42,000 tons, it is smaller than several ships on this list. But make no mistake, what this carrier can do has nothing to do with its size. The Charles de Gaulle carries up to 40 aircraft, including the Rafale M, one of the most technologically sophisticated fighter jets in Europe. More importantly, it uses a catapult launch system, the same style of launch mechanism used on U.S. supercarriers, which allows it to send heavier, faster aircrafts off the deck with far greater precision than a ski jump ramp can provide. France has deployed this ship in NATO operations across the Mediterranean, in missions targeting ISIS strongholds in the Middle East, and in multiple joint exercises with the U.S. Navy. This carrier has seen real combat. It has no showpiece. It is not a showpiece. It is a working warship, and it has earned its place among the best in the world. Number 8. Number 8 has one of the most dramatic backstories on this entire list. A second act so remarkable that even Hollywood could not have written it better. The INS Vikramaditya did not start its life as an Indian ship. It was born in the Soviet Union, originally commissioned in 1987 under the Soviet Navy's designation Baku. It served during the Cold War, then fell completely silent after the Soviet collapse. For years, it sat docked and rusting, a ghost of a warship that no one had the money to fix and no country had the desire to claim. India saw something in it, that rusting hull, that nobody else did. In 2004, India purchased the ship and sent it to Russia's Sevmash shipyard for a complete transformation. What came back was virtually unrecognizable from what went in. New propulsion systems, new weapons, new electronics, new everything. The entire interior was rebuilt from the ground up. The process took nearly a decade and cost significantly more than originally planned, but the end result was worth every rupee spent. Today, the INS Vikramaditya stands 284 meters long and displaces 45,400 tons. It carries 36 aircraft, including the MiG-29K fighter jet and Kamov naval helicopters. Its Skyjump launch ramp allows it to launch fighters quickly from a short deck run, and its combat systems are fully modernized for 21st century warfare. From an abandoned Soviet hull collecting rust in a foreign dock to the flagship of the world's most powerful navies. That is not just a military story, that is a story about vision, patience, and national determination. Number 7. At number 7 is the ship that started a revolution, not because of what it could do right away, but because of what it was designed to teach. China's Liaoning, commissioned in 2012, is the country's first aircraft carrier. And just like India's Vikramaditya, it began life as an unfinished Soviet-era hull. A Kuznetsov-class carrier that China purchased from Ukraine back in 1998. China told the world it was going to turn it into a floating casino and resort. Nobody believed that story, and it turned out to be completely untrue. What China actually did was study that ship from top to bottom. Every system, every design decision, every structural choice the Soviets made. China took it all in, rebuilt the carrier to an operational standard, and commissioned it into the People's Liberation Army Navy, or PLAN, plan. The Liaoning stretched roughly 305 meters and can carry around 50 aircraft, including the J-15, China's most advanced carrier-based fighter. It uses a ski jump ramp for aircraft launches and operates with a crew of around 2,000 sailors. But here's the real importance of this ship. It was never meant to be China's best. It was meant to be China's classroom. And everything China learned from operating the Liaoning went directly into building the carriers that came after it. The next 2 ships on this list exist because of what China figured out on this one. Number 6. At number 6 is Russia's one and only aircraft carrier, and it may be the most controversial warship on this entire list. The Admiral Kuznetsov is 305 meters long and displaces 58,500 tons. It can operate Su-33 fighters, MiG-29K jets. On paper, that makes it a formidable platform. But what truly sets it apart from every other carrier on this list is its design philosophy. Russia did not build the ship the same way everyone else builds carriers. Instead of relying purely on its aircraft for defense, the Kuznetsov was built with heavy weapon systems integrated directly into its hull. Anti-ship missiles, air defense systems, and point defense weapons all built in from the start. The thinking was straightforward. American carriers are always surrounded by escort fleets. Russia could not afford to guarantee that luxury, so they built a carrier that could fight alone if it had to. That is a fundamentally different idea of what a carrier should be. Number 5, Queen Elizabeth class, United Kingdom. At number 5, we cross into British waters, and what the United Kingdom choose to build after decades without a top-tier carrier force is nothing short of extraordinary. The Queen Elizabeth class, consisting of HMS Queen Elizabeth and HMS Prince of Wales, represents the largest warship the Royal Navy has ever put to sea. Full stop, no caveats, no asterisks. Nothing Britain has ever launched comes close to these 2 ships. At 280 meters long and displacing 65,000 tons, each ship carries up to 40 aircraft, including the F-35B Lightning II, one of the most advanced stealth fighters flying anywhere in the world today. The F-35B is specifically designed for short takeoff and vertical landings, making it ideal for these carriers and giving the Royal Navy a true 5th-generation strike capability that most countries can only dream about. Here's what really stands out though. Despite their enormous scale, each of these ships operates with a crew of only around 700 sailors. That is made possible by a massive investment in shipboard automation and advanced systems management. Less manpower, same firepower, and in some cases, even more of it. Britain may not rule the waves the way it once did, But with these two ships in the water, it has sent a clear message to every naval power on Earth. The United Kingdom still intends to be taken seriously. Number 4 goes back to China, and this time, it is an achievement that belongs entirely to Chinese hands. The Shandong, commissioned in 2019, was China's first aircraft carrier built from the ground up with no foreign design assistance. No Soviet blueprints, no purchase haul, no outside engineering help. China did the entire thing on its own. Stretching 305 meters and displacing 70,000 tons, the Shandong is a serious warship by any standard. It carries up to 44 aircraft, primarily J-15 fighters, and uses a ski jump bow ramp to launch aircraft off the flight deck. That method does place some limitations on the maximum weight of aircraft that can be launched compared to a catapult system, but it's proven, reliable, and highly effective for the mission China uses it for. China has deployed the Shandong in exercises near Taiwan, in drills in the South China Sea, and in show-off force movements through the Pacific. The message is consistent. China's carrier program is operational. It is growing and it is not going to stop. In less than 3 decades, China went from having 0 aircraft carriers to being one of the only handful of countries in human history to operate multiple full-size fleet carriers simultaneously. That kind of military expansion does not go unnoticed in Washington. It was never intended to. Number 3. Number 3 is the carrier that genuinely alarmed Western defense planners. China Fujian. The Type 003 was commissioned in 2025. At 360 meters long and 80,000 tons, it is China's biggest and most advanced ship by a wide margin. What made analysts sit up straight was not the size, it was the launch system. The Fujian uses an electromagnetic catapult, the same technology on American Ford-class carriers. That puts China in a very small club of nations that have ever pulled that off on a working warship. It runs on conventional power rather than nuclear, which limits its range. But make no mistake, in terms of technology and capability, China is no longer chasing America. It is building ships designed to compete with America. Number 2. Now we are in legendary territory. The Nimitz class has been the backbone of the U.S. naval power since the 1970s. 10 nuclear-powered ships, 333 meters long, 97,000 tons, over 60 aircrafts per ship, up to 5,000 personnel on board at any given time. They have deployed to every major U.S. military operation from Vietnam all the way through Syria. Nuclear reactors, 20 years without refueling. Whenever America needs to show the world it meant business, a Nimitz-class carrier was already there. USS Nimitz itself is approaching 50 years of active service. 50 years. Few machines in human history have matched that kind of endurance at the level of capability. But as extraordinary as these ships are, they are number 2, because what America built to replace them operates on an entirely different level. Number 1, Gerald R. Ford class. This is it. The largest warship ever built by any nation in the history of the world. USS Gerald R. Ford, CVN 78, is 337 meters long, 100,000 tons, 75 plus aircraft, $13.027 billion to build, more than the entire defense budget of most countries on Earth. The steam catapults are gone. In their place is EMALS, the Electromagnetic Aircraft Launch System, which launches aircraft faster, smoother, and with less wear on the airframes than anything before it. The crew is 600 smaller than a Nimitz ship, yet the Ford delivers more capability across every measurable category. 4 more are currently under construction. The United States is not just holding its lead in naval power, it is pulling further ahead, one Ford-class carrier at a time. Outro. 10 carriers, multiple nations, and one country whose ships the rest of the world is still working to catch up to. These vessels carry more than aircraft. They carry influence, deterrence, and a clear message to anyone paying attention. If you want more content like this, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. You do not want to miss what's coming next.